Kia ora and welcome to a new video from NZ Pocket Guide. Today I'm going to give you my absolute must-know tips for hiking in New Zealand so you can plan the best hiking trip in the country. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that I want to address is the fact that New Zealand has an amazing wide array of hikes in the country. There is this was a very short one, really amazing amount of hikes in the country. So if you are planning to hike in New Zealand and are just the beginners, you'll be able to find very easy to tackle hikes, very well marked tracks, and you'll be able to kind of get into the hobby and get into the New Zealand wilderness quite easily. So you don't have to be too scared if you're lacking experience. However, the next few tips may be helpful. Alright, so next up on the list we have the fact that the multi-day hikes in New Zealand can be really expensive, especially for international travelers. So some of the multi-day hikes that most tourists want to do include the New Zealand Great Walks, which are crown jewel of the hiking trails of New Zealand. However, they can get quite expensive, especially hikes such as the Milford Track, which are always booked many months in advance. So because they get fully booked, well, they come usually with a high price tag. However, there are a lot of multi-day hikes in New Zealand which are as amazing as those ones and much less crowded that will cost you a fraction of the price. So make sure to do a bit of research and pick your hikes carefully, especially if you are on a budget. Next up on the list, we have the fact that you really need to stick to the trails when in New Zealand. As you can see around me, the New Zealand bush can be quite thick and it can be quite easily to get lost. So make sure to stick to the trails when hiking in New Zealand in order to first not get lost, but also not endanger the local wildlife as well as the department conservation effort to preserve the local environment and wildlife. So yeah, if you also are hiking in places which are a bit more remote, you will find orange arrows to follow, and make sure to only follow the orange arrows. Any other colors have other purposes and you don't want to follow them. Next up on the list, we have wearing the right clothing. Make sure that when you are going on a hike, you have enough layers and you're well equipped for hiking in the country, so you are prepared for all kind of weathers. In New Zealand, it's quite well known that there is 4 seasons in one day. And that's kind of my next tips. Make sure to check the weather. There is going to be a lot of different weather patterns in New Zealand that you may not be used to. The weather changes really quickly and you need to be prepared. So make sure to check the weather predictions before you hike and prepare for all type of weather no matter what. If you are going on a longer hike, you will need to share your intentions. There is apps in order to do that, but there are also books in the local department and conservation center where you can actually give your intentions to people. So if something bad happens or if you're not coming back, well, some research effort can be put in place. So make sure to share your intentions when going on longer hikes. And finally, take the Department of Conservation timings with a grain of salt. The Department of Conservation always mark a timing at the beginning of the hike, telling you that the hike will take 1 hour or 2 hours, etc. Well, you have to take in consideration your own level of fitness for it. Quite often, you will complete the hike in a much shorter amount of time, but sometimes it will take you vastly longer. So you have to take those timing with a grain of salt when planning your hike. There's really a lot of birds today, I love it. Alright, so that's everything I have for you today. There is much more for you on nzpocketguide.com, so make sure to check it out. And the whole team is joining me in wishing you the best time ever in New Zealand.